Hello YouTubers, welcome back to another Tesla electric car video with me, Adam Well Informed. Over the past couple of years, we've seen the petrol price somewhat tank to lows not seen for 15 to 20 years, and then fast forward a year or so and we've seen petrol prices at the forecourt hit record highs, and now the price of fuel has somewhat dropped to an average price of around £1.65 per litre in the UK according to RAC's latest data. That's going to be $1.93 to our friends across the pond. The UK wasn't alone, and similar trends took place around the world. So whilst the forecourt rollercoaster ride took place, the domestic price of electricity was relatively static until the beginning of 2022. Just following the domestic price cap for easy viewing, in October 2021 all the way until March 2022, the price per kilowatt hour went from 20.8 pence all the way to 34 pence in present day pricing, which is going to be equivalent to 40 cents US. So whilst petrol prices have dropped, rocketed and lowered, electricity is yet to see its prices drop. That said, electric car owners do have access to exclusive electricity tariffs that do make charging considerably cheaper. However, does owning and operating an electric car like the Tesla Model 3 still make sense in this current cost climate? I've done a couple of videos like this before, but the price of electricity was much lower back then, and so have the scales tipped towards petrol ownership once again. This video isn't just about fuel costs. We'll be incorporating pretty much everything you'd expect to pay with car ownership over a 4-year term, including the vehicle via finance, which has also seen an increase in the APR interest since my previous cost comparison video. We'll even compare vehicle excise duty, servicing and insurance. This will be simulated between two rival cars in the saloon/sedan segment in order to make this backward compatible with my old video. That way you can reflect on how the costs have stacked up since then and now. And so I'll be using the same BMW 3 Series 330i M Sport and a Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive. Both brands make it easy for me to obtain and complete fair cost finance terms on a relatively equal spec car. So if this video sounds like an interesting insight, buckle up, hit that like button to show me some of your virtual love and support for Tesla and EVs, hit the subscribe button so you can continue on this Tesla EV journey with me, and finally hit the notification bell so you're notified of all my upcoming electric car videos as soon as they're available. So before I talk about my first illustration results, I just want to give you a super quick breakdown on the metrics being used, because I can absolutely guarantee someone will be in the comment section saying that they do different annual mileage or it costs some X, and that may be true. However, these comparisons I've drawn up will be using the vehicle's official WLTP combined rated range, using independent average fuel pricing and electricity prices available at the time of the video. I've also completed this all on 10,000 miles driven annually, which will be representable to the average driver. I believe the only metric that I've had to really go out my way and form a cost around my own circumstances was car insurance. However, even then, all the quotation details included in the insurance quotations are exactly the same. I've just swapped the cars around. Therefore, I strongly believe this is the closest I can be to get a fair and truly transparent cost comparison video. There will always be outliers for people such as different car insurance rates and higher mileage and different vehicle financing costs. These projections I'm about to show you are generalized around the average driver using transparent figures. Therefore, the figures for your own circumstances will differ, and the purpose of this video is just to give you a flavour of what to expect cost-wise over a 4-year term, which is again an average term of ownership for a vehicle. Now we've cleared that up, it's time to get into the illustrations. The first illustration I plan to incorporate and demonstrate to you is home charging the Tesla Model 3 at the current cost cap price rate of 34 pence per kilowatt hour, versus the 3 Series at the current average price that I mentioned earlier of £1.65 per litre. In respects to the purchase and finance costs of the cars, I built both vehicles on their configurators directly on the Tesla and BMW website. I haven't added any optional packs etc, so they should just be the plain standard spec for their trim, and I used the same deposit of £7,000 for both vehicles over 4 years and over 10,000 miles utilising personal PCP. Finance figures are sourced directly from both manufacturers for a direct comparison. This turned out to be £635 per month for the Tesla Model 3 over 48 months, and for the BMW 3 Series, utilising that same £7,000 deposit, it was £505 like so. To give you a flavour of the outcome, I estimated the total 4-year difference is over £1,744 in one vehicle's favour. And if that's got your attention, I'll inform you of the per month and per year figure together with the full breakdown of how I got to this outcome. Starting with the monthly basis first. If you want to incorporate that monthly finance figure for both vehicles, and because the deposit on this occasion is exactly the same, and I don't want to include any other one-off costs for this comparison, and so I've not incorporated it within my calculations, it would just cancel each other out anyway. So just to show you I've entered the purchasing details correctly and insurance figures, here is the monthly finance figure. I detailed this earlier with the 48 monthly repayments, and the adjustment is just that £7,000 deposit for the vehicle, as I've just mentioned, and we're not incorporating that in any of the calculations because the BMW has the exact same deposit. Now to show you the BMW 3 Series, the insurance was actually slightly more for my dummy quote than the Tesla. It came out at £504 for the first non-telematic box insurance policy. So this part of the illustration just covers the vehicle specific financing and insurance costs. Now let's move on to the fun part, which is going to be the breakdowns. Here we can see the first breakdown of each cost, starting with the monthly projection. This is the monthly finance figure I entered earlier, then a deposit figure over 48 months, but you can ignore this as they cancel each other out on the comparison. If I wanted to, I could toggle this on and off, useful particularly for when comparing different finance deals across different vehicles. Anyway, back onto the first key running cost differentiator. At these sky high prices for both electric and at £1.65 a litre to drive 833.33 miles a month, aka 10,000 miles a year, it's roughly going to cost over 2.5 times more filling up the petrol BMW per month than it is to run the electric car based on the combined WLTP rated range. That's still staggering under these newly squeezed circumstances, but we're not finished there, and over the full 4-year term the total figure is more surprising. The insurance is £27 for Tesla and £42 for BMW, and that's just the annual premium amount, just broken down into a monthly basis. Then the servicing situation is in favour of the Tesla Model 3, and I mentioned this in my other video, but servicing a Tesla is not requested by Tesla to be an annual thing, it's more of a periodic decision. Primarily it's zero because the driver can complete the limited maintenance schedule points at home over that 4-year term. You can see my previous video above for more details on that. However, the recommendation for the BMW is an annual service, and this service cost represents a monthly service plan by the manufacturer. Finally, the vehicle excise duty, also known as road tax, is free for electric vehicles, whereas the BMW attracts a luxury car rate too here in the UK. Therefore, the annual price is £490 or £40.83 for the BMW. And that monthly figure is an annual price broken into that 12 monthly figure. Now for the grand monthly total for each, it's £752 for the BMW and £715 for the Tesla, and this is equivalent to a 12 monthly figure overall, thus giving us a grand total of £36 per month difference between the two vehicles. And that difference has been squeezed since the last comparison that I did. But wait, there's more to this illustration. If we now switch that to the grand difference over a 12-month period, and all things being equal, that difference would estimate to be over £436 across a year of ownership, and 4 years being £1,744. And that doesn't include any wear and tear costs either. Before I introduce a more desirable EV charging tariff comparison, we can see that just using the bog standard variable rate electricity tariff, even with fuel prices tracking back, it's still considerably cheaper and more efficient to drive an EV. Admittedly, the difference is now not as big as it was before, but that difference still does remain, and the price of fuel and electricity will continue to move up and down. It's never fixed like this comparison. But when looking into buying any new car, I find making projections like this, but more personalised to your own circumstances, is super helpful in seeing that wider, all-inclusive cost position. That is the reality of making a purchasing decision when acquiring a new car. Despite good intentions, if you don't do your own research and incorporating your anticipated costs, the outcome could be far than desired. And that leads me to asking you this question. Do you compare all your own costs before you buy, and would you like to use a phone app like I've just showed you today? This is an app that I helped develop, and it's even been through some public beta testing. We just never got around to releasing it, so do let me know in the comment section below if you think you'd find this useful. Or not, of course. Moving on to utilizing a exclusive EV tariff, we can now make the charging costs much cheaper by doing so. So if you just utilize Octopus Energy's intelligent tariff in my area, this can drop the average charging rate of electricity for the vehicle from 34 pence per kilowatt hour to just 10 pence. Noting your tariff will charge over 40 pence per kilowatt hour outside the off-peak hours. If you want to see the details of that tariff, I'll pop a link in the description of the video for your review. So if we run the same illustration but amending the electric rates to 10 pence per kilowatt hour, how big do you think the deficit will grow over the term of 4 years? Any ideas? To put you out of your misery, the monthly difference stands at £74. The 4-year cost comes next at £893, which will mean the 4-year total could be close to £3,572. Again, smaller than previous projections, but still pretty significant if I say so. With these illustrations, I'm not exclusively saying go out and buy that Tesla Model 3 and don't go out and buy that BMW 3 Series. I'm saying do your own research on the full cost of ownership before you make that buying decision. Finally, before I do a conclusion, and I don't know if you know this, but around 2/3 of the UK's population have access to off-road parking, but that does leave 1/3 of UK households without access to home charging facilities. Those households will then need to be reliant on a public network of chargers. Prices vary from provider to provider, and if you're utilising a slower 7 kilowatts charger versus a rapid charger or supercharger. To make this super spicy though, I want to compare the exact same figures, but with an individual reliant on the Tesla Supercharging network. Now, the prices not only vary depending on which site you're going to visit, but also if you're going to attend during peak or off-peak times. My local Tesla Supercharger costs 48 pence per kilowatt hour or 66 pence per kilowatt hour during peak times, so the price you pay does vary considerably depending on a number of factors. Therefore, let's just project on how it would play out if you relied on that more expensive peak time rate of 66 pence per kilowatt hour. So as you can see with this illustration, just changing the electrical rate to 66 pence and with everything else being equal as before, the monthly difference stands at £14 towards the BMW's favour. Yearly, the difference would stand at £171 and a 4-year difference of just over £686 in the BMW's favour this time round. So for the first time, paying the most expensive tariff at my local supercharger site would be more expensive under these terms. Take that with a pinch of salt because chances are you will attend a different site at some point. Maybe that will have different rates, and then rates charged do fluctuate depending on the time that you attend, and it will just ultimately the prices are constantly changing. However, it's good to just simulate these figures at a reasonably high rate. So to conclude, the cost comparisons have squeezed a little closer since my last calculations, but for 2/3 of the population having access to home charging and even on standard variable rates of 34 pence per kilowatt hour, it's still going to be cheaper than driving a petrol BMW 3 Series 330i. And those on a EV charging tariff will see their charging costs at an even cheaper rate. That said, the current conditions for those relying on supercharging is not so comfortable, at least here in the UK. The last projection that I did when the rates were cheaper, it was still cheaper going electric and relying on the supercharger network. That said, your personal circumstances may vary considerably here. You may even have free 7 kilowatt hour charging at your workplace, or maybe you've got free charging at your local supermarket. You may even get a discounted rate on different charging networks. So do your own research, and it could still work out more favourable to be electric over petrol. This leads me to the very final point. Fuel and electricity prices do vary over time. These projections have varied so much already, and so I will continue to monitor and report back in a future video. So what do you guys think? Do you find running similar cost comparisons help you? And let me know in the comment section below. And if you're not sure what to comment and you want to let me know you've got this far in the video, you can simply comment squeezy and I'll give you a cheeky thumbs up for the support. If you're not done so already, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video with your friends and family or any other groups that may find it beneficial. As always, you folks have been great, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.